Are you ready?
Let's slaughter him.
Mr. Kelly, watch it!
Might call on you again.
Anytime, because I'll be here.
Dean Martin, the King of Cool, was more than just a Rat Pack charmer. Behind his smooth public persona were struggles only now revealed by his children. Born to Italian immigrants, he faced early bullying and experimented with various jobs before finding fame in music. His children have now shed light on the real Dean Martin. What secrets did Dean Martin's children reveal? Join us to reveal his real life. Dean Martin, often called the King of Cool, led a life full of vibrancy and challenges despite his prominent role in the famous Rat Pack. His public persona showcased effortless charm that captivated many, yet it concealed the personal difficulties he encountered. Currently, Dean Martin's children are sharing insights into the complex private life of their father, revealing a new view of the celebrity behind the scenes. Dino Paul Crocetti was born in 1917 in Steubenville, Ohio, beginning his life in humble circumstances as the son of Italian immigrants, Angela Crocetti and her husband Guy Crocetti, who was a barber. Until he was 5 years old, he spoke only Italian, which led to him being bullied in school. These early hardships likely shaped his tough and somewhat reserved personality. Turning away from the path of becoming a barber like his father, Dean Martin left school at the age of 16. This decision was not out of rebellion, but from a realization of his unique talents and desires. After he quit school, Dino Crocetti tried his hand at various jobs, including working at a gas station, rumored drug dealing, and dairy farming. His time as a professional boxer ended quickly due to a severe injury to his nose, which not only changed how he looked, but also his career direction. While he was healing and rethinking his life, he worked as a blackjack dealer at a nearby bar. That job was where he first began singing to customers, enchanting them with his powerful voice. The bar, often visited by a variety of local people and the occasional wanderers, was the ideal place for Dean to refine his singing skills. His talent for music, along with his charming personality, soon made him a favorite in the local scene. During this period, he chose the stage name Dean Martin, believing it to be smoother and more commercially viable than his real name. Dean Martin carefully crafted his public persona, which contrasted sharply with his actual life, which was full of personal challenges despite his celebrity status among the famous Rat Pack. His attempt at a boxing career ended quickly due to a severe nose injury that necessitated cosmetic surgery, altering his looks and prompting a shift in career trajectory toward the entertainment industry. By 17, Dean Martin was performing in nightclubs across Ohio, initially under Ernie McKay's management and later partnering with Sammy Watkins for tours beginning in 1938. During this time, he changed his name first to Dino Martini, then to a more appealing Dean Martin, shedding his ethnic identity for broader appeal. The name change was just a part of a larger makeover to create a more marketable public image. Dean Martin's suave persona was carefully constructed. Knowing for performing with a glass of whiskey in hand, he built a reputation that merged sophistication with approachability, a stark contrast to his personal inclination towards privacy. This crafted image echoed the persona of Phil Harris, who was known for his drunken antics as part of his act, suggesting a carefree life peppered with humor about his drinking habits. Despite his outgoing stage presence, Dean Martin was notoriously private, seldom engaging deeply at social events. In a notable interview with Oriana Fallaci in 1967, he admitted to being quiet at gatherings, primarily because he felt out of place, speaking volumes about the persona he projected versus the person he truly was. Throughout his rise to fame, especially within the Rat Pack alongside Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin maintained this meticulously crafted image. His seemingly effortless charm belied a life of deliberate choices that catered to public expectations while concealing his true self. His journey from the modest, bullied child speaking only Italian to a symbol of cool sophistication in America's entertainment landscape was as much about reinvention as it was about concealment. In 1946, Dean Martin's career took a major leap forward when he teamed up with Jerry Lewis after an unplanned encounter at a nightclub party. This duo, which paired Dean Martin's smooth vocals with Jerry Lewis's whimsical humor, quickly took advantage of their natural chemistry and introduced their act on stage. The partnership seemed idyllic. Their performances were sold out and their playful antics were a hit with the audience. They transitioned to cinema, creating 16 films from 1949 to 1956. Despite their box office success, their partnership was marked by underlying tension. At first, the combination of Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis seemed perfectly suited for the limelight. They featured in the Colgate Comedy Hour, winning over audiences nationwide and making a name for themselves. Their movies were a big draw, solidifying their place as premier entertainers. However, beneath the polished surface of these performances, conflict was brewing. Dean Martin felt overshadowed by Jerry Lewis, who took charge more often than not, both during public appearances and in their private dealings. It seemed to Dean Martin that Jerry Lewis controlled the creative direction, leaving him in the shadows in what was supposed to be a partnership of equals. This power disparity slowly brought about tension, which went mostly unnoticed by their fans. The first signs of trouble started showing in the mid-50s, and by July 1956, after a decade of close collaboration, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis gave their final performance together, abruptly ending their working relationship. The split was bitter, with the pair severing not just their professional connections, but their personal ones as well. Over the years they were together, not only did they make films, but they also toured extensively, putting on live shows that attracted thousands. These events typically blended improvisational comedy with musical segments featuring Dean Martin singing complemented by Jerry Lewis's iconic physical comedy. This unique mix of jazz and comedy earned them massive popularity, further amplified by their television appearances. Despite the accolades and public admiration, their partnership was fraught with challenges behind the scenes. Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis often clashed over their performances and their respective roles in the act. Jerry Lewis's penchant for improvisation conflicted with Dean Martin's preference for a more structured and timed performance style. Their eventual breakup was a notable event in the entertainment world, surprising many fans and colleagues. Following their parting, Dean Martin pursued a solo career in music, film, and television, stepping out from Jerry Lewis's shadow. He achieved great success on his own, earning respect as a versatile and independent artist. Jerry Lewis also continued to thrive, focusing on his slapstick comedy and taking on projects that highlighted his skills as a comedian and director. Yet, the legacy of their partnership cast a long shadow over their subsequent endeavors, with ongoing speculation about their collaboration and the reasons for their dramatic split. The breakdown of their relationship became public spectacle, with the entertainment industry and their fans choosing sides. A mutual friend, Frank Sinatra, tried to mediate a reunion in 1976 during a live telethon, which ended awkwardly and did little to resolve their differences. It was only after the tragic death of Dean Martin's eldest son, Dean Paul Martin Jr., in 1987 that the former partners softened and reconnected, with Jerry Lewis attending his funeral, which helped close the chapter on their long-standing estrangement. Reflecting on the Dean Martin-Jerry Lewis duo shows a mix of contrasts and conflicts. On stage, they were a dynamic team with flawless comedic timing and seemingly effortless interaction. Off stage, however, their relationship was complicated, plagued by rivalry and a struggle for dominance that eventually drove them apart. Dean Martin, with his polished performer persona, and Jerry Lewis, with his eccentric comedian image, created a duo that was as strategically smart as it was troubled. After parting ways with Jerry Lewis, Dean Martin shifted his focus to a solo singing career and soon made a splash in Las Vegas, joining the renowned Rat Pack. This celebrated group includes luminaries like Peter Lawford, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., and Joey Bishop, who collectively embody the pinnacle of extravagant living with their extravagant lifestyles, constant companionship of women, and heavy alcohol consumption. Their transition from Las Vegas performances to major film roles seemed to solidify their tight bond to the public. The connection between Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin was especially strong, spanning over 40 years, characterized by numerous co-performances and family holidays in Palm Springs and Los Angeles. Yet the dynamic between them soured following the death of Dean Martin's son in 1987. Overwhelmed by his grief, Dean Martin withdrew from a scheduled tour, sparking a fierce dispute with Sinatra. Sinatra, who was deeply affected, later said that Dean Martin was as essential to him as the air he breathed, underscoring their deep emotional bond by calling him a chosen brother, not just a friend. Dean Martin became part of the Rat Pack in the late 1950s, a group initially formed by Hollywood heavyweights such as Humphrey Bogart and his wife Lauren Bacall. This group was notorious for their indulgent and hedonistic behaviors, often warned against by Bacall herself, who spoke against the dangers of their nightly excesses, which involved long drinking sessions and disregard for societal expectations. Contrary to his public image as a constant partygoer, Dean Martin was not genuinely as indulgent. Dean Martin frequently portrayed himself as the soul of the party, yet he usually was among the first to depart, choosing the comfort of his home over the disorder of late-night partying. This stark contrast between how he presented himself and how he actually lived was profound, and only those within his close circle were aware of his more reserved, almost secluded nature. As integral members of the Las Vegas entertainment scene, the Rat Pack was known for their impromptu, often spontaneous performances that combined humor, live music, and plenty of alcohol, creating a ceaseless party atmosphere that attracted many. Their collective energy and charisma enhanced their performances, making them more than just a sum of individual acts. Dean Martin's smooth singing combined with Frank Sinatra's dominant stage presence attracted large audiences. Sammy Davis Jr. added versatility with his singing, dancing, and impressions, while Joey Bishop provided the perfect comedic counter with his deadpan humor. Nevertheless, underneath their stage camaraderie was a complex network of personal relationships. The need to maintain their public image and their interpersonal connections sometimes caused tension among the group. Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra, despite their close friendship, occasionally butted heads over creative differences and the future direction of their group. Their impact went beyond entertainment, touching on social and political issues of the time. They actively supported the civil rights movement, using their prominence to sway public opinion and push for equality and justice, often performing in previously segregated venues and breaking down racial barriers with their appearances. Dean Martin often left gatherings early, a fact unknown to many, as noted by comedian Tom Dreesen, who frequently opened for Frank Sinatra. Dean Martin wasn't the avid partier he was portrayed as. If Sinatra insisted the Rat Pack party until dawn, everyone would agree except for Dean Martin. His early exits from these events sharply contrasted with his public persona as the perpetual life of the party. Dean Martin's role within the Rat Pack was designed to show him as a relentless socialite, constantly in the midst of the group's wild escapades. However, this portrayal was far from accurate. In private, Dean Martin was a more reserved person who preferred the quiet of his home to the wild nightlife his colleagues enjoyed. This intentional difference between his public and private personas was a strange facade, meant to keep the public interested but uninformed about his personal life. His image as a party enthusiast was crucial in maintaining the Rat Pack's glamorous reputation. Behind closed doors, Dean Martin preferred quieter evenings, often relaxing at home with a drink, far from the media's eyes. A stark contrast to the hedonistic lifestyle associated with his public figure. Despite his association with the Rat Pack's notorious reputation for decadence, Dean Martin's involvement was more professional than personal. He took part in the group's high-profile Las Vegas shows, which were as much about entertaining audiences as they were about promoting an extravagant lifestyle. This disparity between Dean Martin's public image and his private reality was indicative of the era's celebrity culture, which often demanded a captivating, sometimes exaggerated public persona. While others like Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. might have fully embraced the Rat Pack lifestyle, Dean Martin carefully maintained his boundaries, ensuring his personal life remained separate and unaffected by his public persona. The dynamics within the Rat Pack reflected this contrast. While the group appeared cohesive publicly, each member had distinct personal tastes and lifestyles. Joey Bishop and Peter Lawford might have joined Sinatra and Davis in the after-hour parties, but Dean Martin was content to leave these to others, conserving his energy for his career and family. Dean Martin's handling of his Rat Pack image was not unique, but was notably effective in keeping his real personality from being overshadowed by his public character. His ability to manage public perceptions without being consumed by the character he played is a testament to his professionalism and deep understanding of the complexities of fame. This facade was meticulously managed through his TV and movie appearances, where he consistently displayed the charming, sophisticated persona that made him a beloved figure. His performances, always polished, projected an image of comfort and ease with the glamorous life, which endeared him to fans and helped sustain his career well beyond the Rat Pack's heyday. Despite his reputation as a key member of the party-loving Rat Pack, Dean Martin was fundamentally a family man. This stark contrast between his public persona and his private life defined him throughout his career. He had 7 children, 4 with his first wife, Elizabeth MacDonald, and 3 with his second wife, Jean Martin. Even though Dean Martin was known for his high-profile nights out with Rat Pack member Frank Sinatra, the two stars often spent time together with their families. Dean Martin's daughter, Deanna Martin, recalled that the Sinatras played a significant role in their lives, highlighting that the children from both families were close friends. The tragic death of his son, Dean Paul Martin, in 1987 marked a painful period for Dean Martin. Dean Paul Martin, a captain in the Air National Guard, died when his plane crashed during a training flight. This loss deeply affected Dean Martin, leading him to unconventional methods in his search for closure. Reports from the Desert Sun newspaper detailed how he turned to psychics for help, one of whom was flown in a private helicopter to the suspected crash area. This psychic supposedly located the exact spot of the tragic accident, which unfortunately had no survivors. This incident revealed another aspect of Dean Martin's life. His famous drinking persona was mostly an act. The typical depiction of him with a drink in hand, seemingly intoxicated, was a well-crafted facade. In reality, the drink was often just apple juice from the Martinelli brand. Patty Griot, a backup singer and dancer who worked closely with Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis, his former partner, both confirmed that his drunken appearance was exaggerated for entertainment. Dean Martin himself addressed these rumors in a 1961 interview with the Saturday Evening Post, where he admitted to drinking far less than people assumed, saying he consumed about 1/10 of what his fans believed. He disclosed that he had largely given up heavy drinking long before his son's death. However, the grief he experienced after losing his son pushed him towards real alcoholism, a stark turn from his previously controlled drinking habit depicted in his performances. Dean Martin's life thus paints a picture of a man who navigated tremendous highs and lows. He maintained a charismatic, cheerful public image while privately coping with significant personal challenges. His story is a vivid example of the complexities that often lie behind a celebrity's public image, balancing a highly visible, glamorous lifestyle with personal struggles and profound tragedies. This duality in Dean Martin's existence, being a jovial, carefree entertainer in the public eye while dealing with deep personal pain behind closed doors, illustrates the hidden lives many celebrities lead. His professional life was filled with music, laughter, and camaraderie, which he expertly used to mask his personal difficulties. Dean Martin's famous hit, Everybody Loves Somebody, which even knocked the Beatles off the top chart position in America in 1964, paved the way for his own variety show offered by NBC a year later. Dean Martin had a deal with NBC that allowed him to completely own the show after its first episode aired. He made it clear that he wanted to work only on Sundays and that he did not have to perform with the backup dancers. He could just relax and enjoy watching the football games unless he was needed on set. Dean Martin's laid-back approach extended to his rehearsal habits, where he preferred to watch the stand-ins perform from the comfort of his dressing room monitor, stepping in only when absolutely necessary. This approach did not hinder the show's success. The Dean Martin Show managed to attract a whopping 40 million viewers from 1965 to 1974. Dean Martin once said that the authenticity he brought to the show was a key reason for its success, as he told in an interview, "It's really me up there, nothing fake." Meanwhile, another cultural titan, Elvis Presley, often found it challenging to connect with the big band crooners who had come before him, such as Frank Sinatra, who had made it clear he was not a fan of rock and roll, labeling it phony and for cretins, as noted in various biographies. Despite this, Sinatra's attitude softened, and he didn't truly appreciate Elvis's talent until they performed together in 1960. Elvis Presley admired Dean Martin, considering him an idol. This was particularly interesting given that Martin was a part of the Rat Pack, a group that Sinatra also belonged to. Elvis was influenced by Dean Martin early in his career and even recorded a cover of Martin's "I Don't Care If the Sun Don't Shine" in 1954. A significant moment for Elvis is when he got the chance to perform Everybody Loves Somebody at a concert where Dean Martin was in the audience.